Good morning. We made it to Friday. So we finished out all those constructions yesterday. I would keep continuing to work on practicing those constructions. But for today, what we're going to do is we're going to start talking about triangles. So we got 2 whole days worth of triangles that we got to talk about today and then Monday when you guys come back over the weekend. So let's start out by you guys listing 5 things you know about triangles. So just come up with some stuff there. And take a minute. You can pause if you guys want to take some time to think about it. And then we'll go from there. Okay, so I hope you guys came up with some cool things. Some things that I thought of: 3 sides and angles. Angles add up to 180 degrees. Angle sum is 180 degrees every time. Let's see, so we got 3 sides, 3 angles, angle sum's 180. We can have right triangles. We can prove triangles are congruent. All those different things that we talked about, side, 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 angle, side, angle, side, angle, 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 side. And don't want to forget your hypotenuse leg. So there's a few things there that we know about triangles. I'm sure you guys came up with some others as well. But today, the reason we're talking about this is because we're going to talk about some more properties of triangles. So let's take a look at the list of the things that we are going to talk about triangles for today and on Monday. It's a pretty hefty list, but today what we're going to focus on are these first 4. That's the goal for today. Classifying triangles. So basically this just means, can we name the triangles? You're going to name them by a couple different things. You're going to name them by angles and by their sides. Those are the 2 ways we're going to name triangles. We're going to actually write a proof for the triangle sum theorem, and then we're going to talk about something called a corollary to that. It's pretty interesting. And then we got to hit those 2 theorems as well. So those are our 4 goals for today, and then these ones we'll probably hit on Monday. Okay, so let's take a look at, first off, classifying triangles. So you guys should have a sheet here that looks just like this. So a bunch of little items to cut out. And what I would recommend is that you pause the videos here and you cut out the piece that looks like this and glue that into your notebook in the notes section of Unit 3. So go ahead and pause and do that. Okay, welcome back. So we're going to talk about classifying triangles, and as I said before, we classify triangles by 2 things: their sides and their angles. So let's talk about the 3 different ways you can classify triangles by their sides. So those ways are equilateral triangle, isosceles triangle, and scalene triangle. So basically you're just looking at, are all the sides the same? Are 2 of the sides the same? Or are none of the sides the same? So if we look at that, equilateral, it has almost the word equal in it, so it makes sense that all 3 sides are the same in equilateral. And the second one we have is isosceles triangle. In isosceles we have 2 congruent sides, the same. And then that third side's going to be different. And then finally you have a scalene triangle where none of the sides are the same. So they're all like a completely different length. So you may see a trick question like, is an isosceles triangle an equilateral triangle, or is an equilateral triangle an isosceles triangle? If you think about it, wouldn't an equilateral triangle be an isosceles because it does have 2 congruent sides? Just some interesting stuff there. We'll talk more about that when we get into classifying, but basically you just need to memorize these 3 names and then as well as what those 3 names mean. So that's sides. Now let's take a look at classifying angles. So when we classify by angles, all we're going to do is we just look at, okay, what type of angles do these triangles have? We already know all the different types of angles, acute, right, obtuse. But we have to look at, well, how does that apply to naming a triangle? So a triangle that has all acute angles, or angles less than 90 degrees, is going to be an acute triangle, so all three angles are less than 90. An equiangular triangle is where all the angles are the same measure. And if you think about it, if all three angles have to add up to 180, if we divide that by 3, that means that in an equiangular triangle, all the angles should be 60 degrees. So you can say equals 60 degrees for the angle. A right triangle is one of the angles is equal to 90 degrees. So one angle equals 90. And then finally, obtuse, we have one angle that is greater than 90 degrees. And that's it. So again, just something you have to memorize when we're talking about classifying. You just have to know what those words mean and be able to classify using those names. So we can take a look at the first example here. Also should have been part of the cutout. So if we want to classify, all we got to do is look at the angles and the sides of the triangle. So if we look at letter A, look at those angles there. That angle and that angle are the same because they're both 70 degrees. So we know that this other angle has to make all the angles add up to 180. So we got 70 plus that angle F has to equal 180. So the measure of angle F is going to have to be 40. So this must be an acute triangle because all the angles are less than 90. But because it has two of the same angles, that also means that those opposite sides are congruent. So it's going to be an acute isosceles because it has one pair of congruent sides. So the next one, take a look at this. All three of these angles are the same. So that means not only is this triangle equiangular, it's also equilateral. And normally you'll just see this named as an equilateral triangle because if all the sides are the same, all the angles need to be the same as well. Okay, and this last one here, it doesn't tell us any of the sides are the same, and all it shows us is one angle here, and it says it's 127 degrees. So if that angle is 127, it must be an obtuse triangle because it has one angle greater than 90. So it's obtuse. And then again, it doesn't say any of the sides are the same, and they all look different lengths. So it must be an obtuse scalene triangle. Okay, so what I want you guys to do is go ahead and get this image cut out of your note sheet there. And once you get it cut out, try to answer those two questions after you glue it into your notes. And then take a second, pause the video so that you have some time to try to answer those on your own, and then we'll go over those answers. Okay, so here are the answers I got. Take a look at those. Feel free to ask questions to Coach Pierce if you have any, but those are the answers that I got. You can pause now if you'd like to check those answers and review them. If not, feel free to just move on. Okay, so now what I'd like you guys to do is I'd like you to get some practice classifying. So go ahead and try these 4 problems, 1, 3, 5, and 7 on the practice sheet. Let's go ahead and pause the video and then take some time to get those answers, maybe 3 minutes, and then come back to check your answers. Alright, so these should be the 4 answers you got here. If you have any questions, feel free to ask Coach Pierce, or always you can send me a reminder to ask me any questions you may have. And you got those even problems to leave for practice later on. But right now we're gonna stop this video. So this was on classifying triangles, and we gotta start our next video on something called the triangle sum theorem and the corollary to that theorem.